In Red Dead Redemption, there is a side mission you can do called I Know You, where you find a strange man that somehow knows a lot about John's past, but yet he will never tell you how he knows. This side mission has 3 parts, and each of them is a strange man telling you to do something. The first one is him telling you to stop a drunk man from cheating on his wife, or you can encourage him.
Excuse me, mister.
Yeah, and what do you want?
Look, don't ask me how, but I know what you're about to do, and you need this.
What? Oh.
Either way, the next mission is you talking to the stranger and him telling you there is a nun in need of help. So once you find this nun, you have 2 options: aid the nun or steal. Hey, no judgment here, you do you. The last part of this side mission is the stranger talking to you on a more personal issue. And John has just had enough of this guy's bullshit and asks the man what's his name.
Tell me your name or I won't be responsible for my actions.
Oh, but you will. You will be responsible.
By now, John is pretty frustrated, so he decides to shoot the stranger. And does absolutely nothing to him, and he just walks away like nothing happened. We don't know who this man is, and to be honest with you, we will probably never find out. People have made theories about who he is though. Some people think it's God or Satan due to them being tasks that you choose the outcome of, good or bad, and God would want you to do the good for your redemption. And for the Satan, I don't know, probably for that devilishly good mustache. But we don't know who he is. We know nothing about him, which is why I'm making this video. I want to talk about the most interesting characters that we know almost nothing about. They could be from an 8-bit camera, a glitch character, to being a main antagonist in a game series. Here are some of my favorite strange characters. The Game Boy, one of the first handheld consoles to be made. And with the Game Boy, it had an accessory called the Game Boy camera, which is a camera that goes on your Game Boy. And on that camera is a game that you could play on it. It's just a little RPG game that you can use your camera for. That's basically it. But anyways, on that RPG, if you keep choosing the run option, there will be a picture of a person with the text, "Who are you running from?" with this weird music playing in the background. Who the fuck is this person? And why is it here? There's even more faces like this happening, but this one right here is the most chilling. It even shows up again when you go to the item shop, but this time it will say no blank frames. Who thought of this? Who think this was a good idea? Who is this person? But that's all I got on this person. It does not show up anywhere else in the RPG or on the camera. Okay, so I just got an update. This shows up more often, and as it turns out, the RPG isn't the only game. There's more games to it. I just didn't know that. So while playing Portal in some of the test chambers, you can find some hidden rooms you're not supposed to be in. And in these rooms are some pictures and some texts that were left by the one and only Ratman. In the first game, we don't know much about the Ratman. We do know that he's in love with the cube and knows that GLaDOS is lying to us, which came the infamous phrase, "the cake is a lie." And that's all we got from him in this game, was just some writing and some pics of his high school crush. 4 years later, Valve released a 2-part comics on the Ratman called Lab Rat, and it got us more information about him. Like, he used to work at the Aperture Lab, and he was actually working on GLaDOS before the incident, and he actually helped Chell. At the end of the first game, when you fight GLaDOS and kill her and blow up the entire place with you in it, it ends with you being outside, laying on the floor, and that's how it was. Until an update came out for an ARG, but we're not going to get deep into that. And the update changed that instead of you keep laying on the floor, there's a core talking to you, thanking you for participating.
Thank you for assuming the party escort submission position.
And drags you back inside the place, putting you in cryogenic sleep. And as it turns out, there's no one to get her out, so she'll be in sleep forever. So he goes out of his way to make sure that doesn't happen. He still doesn't know when she'll wake up, but she'll wake up at some point, and then he puts himself into one of those bed things, and that's the end of the Rat Man. In Portal 2, there is some artwork from him, but that's basically it. There was a theory though that at the end of the game, when all the turrets are screaming at you, there was a shadowy figure behind some of the turrets, but as it turns out, it was just some cubes. And that's it. That's all I got for this guy. I'm sorry if I didn't go too much detail on him. I just want to get the basics of him, and that's it. This fucking guy made a creepypasta in real life. In the game Saint Rose 2, there's a glitch you can do. When you play the zombie level of the game, at one point of the map, there is a grenade jump you could do. And if you do it just right, you should be outside the map. And once you start to fall, everything goes downhill from here. No pun intended. You will be teleported to the main world, but instead, things have changed with it. Random breezes will happen, zombies will be there, and sometimes you'll just be flying in the air like an angel. But it's always random. The only thing that stays the same is that you will always spawn right next to the tattoo shop. Now, here's the part where it gets creepy. When objects start to float, or the outside becomes very bright, buddy, you should be shivering because the freezer is about to come. And once he comes, you only get to see him for a split second and your game crashes. And may or may not break your game and data. Yeah, I would really not recommend doing this glitch because if you do, it can ruin your disk or your data. But anyways, this thing has the power to kill your disk. Who is this thing? Well, this time I actually have an answer for this. Spaghetti code. So you're telling me that a code got messed up so badly they made a new character out of nowhere that's like the Herobrine, but instead it's like real? So with this in mind, I decided to buy Saint Rose 2.
You can never have enough guns. That's what I always say.
And tried to do the glitch. And here's what happened. We're out. Alright, let's get out of here. So, he can show up anytime. But what I've heard is, he mostly shows up in buildings. So, I'm gonna go find a building to go inside to and wait for him. You guys wanna go to a hooker place? Maybe he's stripping for us. Oh, that trash was something. It's for the life of me, I cannot find this dude. We're gonna head inside that building and we're gonna look up some stuff. This bug cannot be repeated on modern hardware because video card drivers will not allow a broken render to fail or end the game session. So, at the end of the first Half-Life, once you beat the final boss, a man with a suit will teleport you to a safe place. This person here is the G-Man, the most strangest character in video game history. And when I say we know nothing about this man, I mean we know nothing about him. In Half-Life games, if you just beat the games without looking around, you will only see him a couple of times, almost every time at the end. However, if you take your time in Half-Life 1 and 2, you can see he is following you wherever you go from the beginning to the end. He even shows up on TV watching you. You know that feeling when you play Gary's Mod or any other Source games and you just feel like you're being followed or watched? Well, in Half-Life, you are being followed wherever you go. So we have talked about how much a stalker he is, but we haven't talked about what he does. In Half-Life, before the Black Mesa incident, he gave one of the scientists a sample of whatever that is, which caused the Black Mesa incident. He knows the future, and he can also time travel, because in Half-Life 2, Episode 2, Alex's dad dies at the end. And in Half-Life Alyx, which takes place before Half-Life 2, at the end of that game, G-Man shows Alyx the future, of which her father dies. And G-Man gives her the chance to change that, but since she did that, she has now have to replace Freeman for G-Man. In Half-Life Operation Force, when you stop a bomb going off, once you're about to leave the place, you can see G-Man turning the bomb back on. And at the end of the game, he takes you to a void where you can't do anything, or no one can't do anything to you.
Civil servant like yourself understands the importance of discretion. My employers are not quite so trusting, and rather than continually subject you to the irresistible human temptation of telling all, we have decided to convey you somewhere you can do no possible harm, and where no harm can come to you. I'm sure you can imagine.
So, he can teleport him and other people, get other people trapped in a void, stop time, go time traveling, and change the future. Is there anything he cannot do? Well, there is one thing he cannot do. He cannot stop the one free man.